Organizations have been in Vainglory for a little bit over 1.5 years, so their dominance has been for the majority of the time they've been in the Vainglory scene. Very, very interesting and very amazing to their names. But Hammers and Rogue are the organizations playing here in this finals. Tell me about this Black Feather ban or pick.
You're doing Joe's job now. But, I mean, for all we know, it could be even a longer streak than that. We just didn't have enough time to look even further back. But the Black Feather Rona ban again by Hammers, just making sure that Rogue cannot run this brawl style. They can't bring this fight into that brawling format, but they didn't need it in game number one. And it's a little bit strange that they banned it on A side, because I really don't feel like the Rona is a necessary ban for A side, because you already know two of your opponent's members. You know if they're going to be trying to run that brawl style or not, and you can take the Rona yourself. And like I mentioned last game, Rona pick as your second pick on B side is extremely risky.
Indeed. What is still open is the Kestrel, however, and that could be a very strong pick for Rogue. Even though they are going up against a Black Feather, Kestrel can work very well because she can use her trap, use her invisibility to kite away the Black Feather and try to burst him down with her. Very strong damage coming out in the late game with a few crit items.
Absolutely. We'll see where they do go with this one. 15 seconds on this pick remaining. They've got to make a decision soon. It is going to be the Kestrel in the end locked in there for Hammy, and we've seen him do some serious work on that pick. But this Black Feather versus Kestrel matchup, definitely an interesting matchup to watch out for. We've seen it quite a few times across the course of today. Yeah,
it's a matchup that can really kind of swing either way depending on what the junglers bring to the table. I think is honestly the most influential part of that matchup, because the jungle ganks can be so impactful when you have a Black Feather and a Kestrel, because especially pre-6, there's neither of these two have really any form of escape.
I wonder if Trent Walker is going to be picked up here from Hammers. I wouldn't expect it, because Lance would be a higher priority, or something even like the Catherine Batiste with the Black Feather could come out. But just because they saw how strong it was late game, it would be funny to see Hammers pick it up here and try to adapt to that draft. However, the Alpha pick does come in first, and that's a very strong jungler. Honestly, we keep talking about it, and it's a little too strong in 2.9 perhaps. Teams landing it through, it can backfire terribly.
Honestly, it feels like it flew under the radar a little bit coming into this series, and we didn't really see it much last series either, but definitely something that Stats is more than willing to take on into that jungle, and I'm curious to see what the answer will be for Rogue coming into this one, but also what this final pickup for Hammers will be.
There's definitely, again, Lance I think feels like a very popular pick right now, but they're going to go with the Cloud9 counter and pick up the Fortress for Chicken. Once again, they liked it in their matchup against Cloud9. We'll see if Rogue is going to be able to deal with this pick.
I like the Fortress pickup here just because against the Kestrel, I talked about it in the serious matchup. When you use your Fortress Wolves, the ultimate, you manage to block a lot of her damage because the Glimmer shots do hit those Wolves instead of your carries, and that is a great counterplay into the Kestrel.
Certainly can be, and that's going to be a Batiste to round out this draft. So very much a ranged composition going up into this melee cleave coming out from the Hammers. I'm curious to see this, because this looks like Hammers are going to have to play incredibly aggressive here.
And I do like the Batiste pick into the Alpha, because you can use your Ordain to try and stop a Prime Directive. You can use the Fearsome Shade to try and knock her away once she starts the Termination Protocol. So there's a lot of tools that they now have to try and deal with this Alpha. We haven't seen any team really be able to deal with Alpha super effectively. This could be the answer.
Another thing that we haven't seen too many of is actually the Batiste against the Alpha, because when Alpha was very heavily involved in the meta before, Batiste had not come out as a hero. So now that he's available, I actually agree with you. I think he's a great counterplay. And despite Hammers having Black Feather and Alpha, I'm leaning towards Rogue in this draft just because of how that Batiste is going to be able to counter the initiations coming from Hammers.
Also, a lot of disengage just from the clockwork alone, being able to reduce the cooldowns, incredibly important for that Batiste. I mean, I'm basically a Batiste one-trick, so I'm biased on that one. But talk to me about how you feel this game is going to go across the course of this one. How long are we expecting this game to be here?
I mean, it could be we could be in for a pretty long one, because I feel like the early game is going to go fairly heavily towards the Alpha, but then once we get to the mid to late game, this Batiste and the rest of the crew could turn it around.
All right, we'll see if that's going to be the case. It's time to jump into Game 2 of our finals. Hashtag Vainglory on Twitter. Let us know who you are supporting. It's time to pass it back over to our casters and get on into Game 2.
Thank you very much, guys. Jaws and the Source, we're back once again. Game number 2. Hammers on the blue side, Cloud9 over on the red this time around. Not sure it's going to be as quick as the last one, Source, but it's going to be a bloodbath. We've got an alpha on the field, but we got Batiste for the first time this evening.
Yeah, and you know, the alpha is powerful. The Batiste will be able to counter her out, but we've still got a Black Feather. Black Feather was kind of shut down in the last game. Didn't really get to do his job, but there is no saw to push turret, and starting all over, he got locked up a lot. If the side of Rogue had been there a little bit sooner, that could have been devastating for the side of Hammers, and now they're ready for this jungle invade. They know how weak starting all over is. They should be able to steal away this Treant.
He is extremely low right now. They're not sure who that actually went over to. It did go over to actually Status in the end, so Hammers at least secure the front camp of their jungle, but that does mean they get priority in the lane as Hammy and Evil are going to make his way. They're going to make their way there.
Yeah, and so now it's question between how well will Hammy play on this weapon power Kestrel. Will he be able to be that overwhelming poking force, or is the side of Hollywood Hammers going to be able to successfully engage on them? Because they've got a lot of the tools. They've got a great diving composition. They can chase past the initial dive with Chicken on the Fortress, which we're now seeing, being played out a little bit more in this week. There are a couple of other factors that the side of Hammers are going to have to worry about just in terms of the Batiste, but they still have plenty of potential to be able to just hard dive this game and bring back the reverse sweeps, which is been very useful for them in terms of being able to clutch these games out up against these what would be higher seeded opponents.
And we both kind of put it on them that these teams want to make a name for themselves. Rogue especially. They're sitting at 3rd seed right now against TSM and Cloud9, who haven't been in a final for, what was it, a year or something, Tasty said? That is an insane stat for TSM and Cloud9 not to be in a final for. That's incredible. And Rogue and Hammers right now, they're surely making a show of it. Hammy is going to be able to just to get pushed back a little bit, starting just Status even and starting just pushing up the lane quite aggressively. This melee versus the range, it's an 8-old matchup. Right now, Hammy's going to have the advantage, but as soon as starting starts to come online, this Black Feather, he's going to have a hell of a time kiting back.
Yeah, and in terms of these teams, Hammers are upstarts challenging Kings and Rogue, but Rogue, they're trying to challenge gods. If they manage to win out this week, they will basically be, they're ready to ascend and to challenge TSM for that final spot as the weeks continue. Whereas this is a pretty big momentum moment for Hollywood Hammers. Losing this here, yes, they can definitely be proud of how well they've played, but they need to be racking up the wins back to back if they want to be able to contest for that world spot. They've got a great team here, and will definitely be able to do well going into next year. But the season's not over yet. You don't want to sell yourself short. You want to go for the gold and try and make it to the top. So this is a very important series for them, and they are now a little bit behind the 8 ball with how Rogue played in that last game.
Yeah, a little bit shook up, you could say. That's exactly how I'd be feeling after if I had a 12-minute game and it was a defeat. Evo and Hammy going fairly aggressive as Chicken is starting all over, do try and dive them, but Status will be here as well. But active camo from Hammy will help him in the laning phase at least, just to avoid and subvert a lot of that damage and pressure. Now, where is Sibs going to want to intervene here? Because he hasn't really been up to the lane whatsoever. More often than not, right now, he's just farming up, waiting to that level 6 mark when that first from Shay comes online. And then it looks like he wants to go for an engage. But moving up towards the lane now, stopping Chicken's back could be quite important. He's half HP, and Hammy's got the way to push him.
Yeah, to be honest, this Rogue, they don't need to over-aggress. They can now value off of their turret pushing, get the value off of having that Kestrel here in the lane. Massive damage on the starting all over. They didn't have anything to follow up on the Ordained and abuse him when he was kind of stuck in that position, but they have gotten this turret onto half, and we still haven't seen Status show up until now.
Well, Prime direct him over the wall. Now he's in the game. Alrighty, he's been farming up a Storm as well, only just a little bit ahead of Sibs at the current moment in time. Rogue now getting forced back to their turret with Hammy, very little energy right now. This could spell a little bit disaster in all honesty. Won't have those glimmer shots, we'll have those basic attacks however, pops the boost and the flask to get away from the dive that come through from Hammers. They take a few too many turret shots and end up backing off.
That's an auspicious dive for the side of Hammers if they actually managed to secure that, but I think it might have been a little bit too
Hey,
much. Fearsome
Sid,
Shade is out.
there's an Ordained, a massive Ordained into the Fearsome Shade. Glimmer shots are raining through, and Sibs manages to find first blood for Rogue. They're going to push on, starting all over in Status. Another Ordained will be available in a couple of seconds. They're going to find Status, jump straight into the Termination Protocol. He's going to get the Infinite Reboot off, but it's actually just cut up where he stands. That's going to be 2 kills on the board. Both of them go to the jungler of Rogue.
And Rogue are basically saying with their play, you may have made it up here to the adults table. This is the big leagues, and you're not ready for it. And so far, Hammers have been shut down in all of their aggressive attempts. It's not as if they're making significant mistakes, but every time they're stepping up, Rogue seem one step ahead of them and are ready to punish even the smallest bit of mispositioning. Now we've got Hammy. He's got his Sorrow Blade. He's deeper into that build, starting all over. Does have that Serpent's Mask, and I don't see Hammy picking up the Poison Chip. So there will be that breaking point lifesteal stack up build for starting all over. He'll be able to get to that point, assuming the game goes long enough. But I don't know if he's going to be able to put enough pressure onto Hammy, at least from what we've seen.
He's got all the protection in the world from Evil and Sibs. That Ordain is good at locking people down. Speaking about locking people down, it's always the funniest interaction when someone manages to dash through the Ordain and they end up halfway across the map stunned. Starting all over, taking a lot of damage from these Glimmer shots. Isn't able to dodge out of any of them, and that turret is going to take a whole lot of a beating. Although Status is moving in, he's going to find the Prime Directive straight onto Evil, but once again, just find massive damage. There comes the Gauntlet down. Status, they're all very low. There's a Fearsome Shade just ripples through the members of Hammers, and Status pops into the Infinite Reboot again, and he's going to get taken out. Can't quite dash to his turret in time, and in fact, that'll be Rogue taking the first turret as well.
And all of that back off the back of Hammy's poke. He got so much damage with those Glimmer shots, and now he's looking for starting. He wanted the energy to finish the job, or at least wants to pull back to back up the rest of his team as they take this gold miner, start to extend their lead. This isn't as drastic of massive lane control and winning at 7 minutes into the game. We were 5 minutes into the game and things looked very bleak for the side of Hammers, but they're going to need to calm down and look for that opportunity. They've got the attack of the pack up. They don't really want to pick these fights in the lane. They want to find something in rotation in the jungle. But the opportunity is more than still there for them. They have plenty of damage. Kill Hammy, who has no defenses whatsoever. They just have to manage to secure it.
Looking at this time last game, Hammy was going towards his third item when we were about to actually break the base of Hammers. That's how fast that game was, and only just now have they've taken down that first tier 1 turret in the lane. Shallow Glass finish for Sid. Now Fearsome Shade is back online yet again, and I think it's only a matter of time now. Chicken has to decide here. Well, he doesn't have to decide. He needs a Crucible online in order to stop that massive AoE fear.
He also needs to find an opportunity. We're sitting with a Fortress who still has not used, the attack of the pack to a significant degree. They haven't found that opening team fight that you look for when you get, what is a fairly big team fight ultimate? Being able to reposition the entire team and get mortal wounds onto all of those targets and stop all of that healing. Dear God, starting all over is so low and is constantly being poked by Hammy. I feel as if Hammers are a little scared to actually go for that engagement.
No, Chicken looking to go in here. There's the Fearsome Shades. They're going to isolate his Status. That was perfect. Prime Directive straight in. He's going to use that Termination Protocol, but the explosion does hit any members of Rogue. The Gauntlet comes down, starting all over, still surviving. That Serpent's Mask was good, but the damage from Hammy was even better. The Core Charge does finish him off in the end. The stun does come through from the Ordained. Sibs is going to chase them up. Another bad mojo will finish off the kill. And Hammers, they're running like cowardly dogs. And now Chicken, the only member alive, is going to be able to get away in the end. Rogue are going to take some jungle with them as well, but that's another 2 kills on the board.
The moment I say that they're scared, they bare their fangs, but it's right into what is a brick wall, you could say, from the side of Rogue. Yes, they do manage to eventually take that Hammy, but that was an extended team fight, and it was very lucky that that Status managed to get off the Termination Protocol. It did show that starting all over can get off a lot of that damage. He can put pressure onto Hammy, so there is light at the end of the tunnel for the side of Hollywood Hammers, but now they need to make that a little bit cleaner. They came at Rogue from vision. They did it, in a very straightforward fashion. They fought up in the lane where it was very easy for them to see exactly where everybody was coming from. They need to pick a fight where they're able to instantly jump onto Hammy and not have to go through, the side of Rogue, being able to retreat a little bit of distance, because they got pretty far away before anybody from the side of Hollywood Hammers had actually managed to secure, connect the engagement onto the side of Rogue.
Evo's did a good job as well of isolating the members of Hammers, and along with that fearsome shade, it makes them all make sure they actually just pile straight into the wall and all stun themselves. That age-old interaction with the Ordained as well is something to kind of keep in mind. Starting all over is gonna get Ordained, is gonna have to back off rather sharpish. However, Chicken has got the Crucible online, so we are now looking at status to actually bring this powerful alpha onto the field. She's got one item, she's working towards her second right now, but like you mentioned a second ago, she's able to get massive damage off, but time and time again, Rogue are just kind of walking away from the termination protocol and going, okay, it's not a problem, we'll just kite back and we'll just use Sibs and his ability to zone one target, and then we can just carry on the team fight from there.
Well, Sibs landed a double Fearsome Shade in that previous fight. He sent two of the members of Hollywood Hammers, pretty far away. They were almost back in the jungle by the time the effect wore off. So Sibs is doing a fairly good job. A little bit understated. We say that Hammy right now is kind of the key component in Rogue's composition, but Sibs did a very good job of setting that up and then had that finish off kill on the status. So you have to be worried about how much value this Batiste is going to get with a composition that is just trying to kind of run at you, instant stun and starting all over.
Rogue, they activate the Wall Treader instantly. The Gauntlet comes down. They're going to actually stun up only the Alpha for the time being. The Ordain comes out for the double stun. Hammy's still wailing away with those Glimmer shots. Prime Directive in. Hammy gets the Vanguard to safety. But look at the health bars coming through from Chicken and Status. They're going oh so low. That's a beautiful active camo stun, but it wasn't quite enough. There's going to be a massive Prime Directive onto the Batiste, and Sibs ends up falling as well. That will be Evil now running away from starting all over. Hammers, they found the fight they needed in take two.
Yeah, and they got that off the re-engage. After the initial engagement, they got zoned out a bit. They'd taken some damage. Status was actually the only one caught inside of the Gauntlet, and then there wasn't really space for Hammy to be able to fire at him and bring him down. So he manages to get off a good termination protocol. The fight goes longer, I think, than Rogue would have liked, and Evol is got to get brought down, gets caught by Status with the Prime Directive, and now Hollywood Hammers, they're looking better in this game. The gold lead is starting to lessen, but oh my god, so much damage on the Chicken.
Chicken almost falls, but they do end up getting the turret regardless. No one-shot, one-kill from Hammy, unfortunately. He won't be able to snipe away the wolf. However, starting all over, moving forward. Fearsome Shade's going to come out and actually just kill him. There we go. The damage was there enough for Sibs, who finds it with the Fearsome Shade. Only on a 30-second cooldown as well, mind you, so he's going to be able to use that in the next engagement. Rogue, priority in the lane, are going to get damage down to this tier 2 turret. I say damage, actually exhaust is just going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, and Sibs got that off of what was a blocked Fearsome Shade into a really well-timed Ordain. Like, I didn't realize the Ordain got him, but I was like, no, that's the only thing that could have taken that extra damage. So Sibs is, on point. We're still, I'm still talking about how valuable Hammy is to these fights, but Sibs is definitely starting to show up. Has the Shatter Glass, basically has a full mage build. Hasn't really built that much in terms of defenses. So beware those bad mojos.
As bad mojos are going to stack up, especially when he's full of them. That's Sibs. As soon as he gets stacked up, those bad mojos. I've seen some crazy numbers, so I'm sure you have as well. They do get quite scary, especially when you've got no or little to no shielding in your kit. And speaking of that, if you look at the defensive items coming out from Status right now, if he takes a bad mojo, he's going down very quickly. He's only got a light armor on board. That means he's a glass cannon at the moment. He has got Dragon's Eye, however, so he is starting to stack up in these team fights if he can last long enough.
Well, Sibs has got the Broken Myth. Starting all over needs to be careful as well in the middle of those team fights. And he can't really be wasting any of his reflex blocks on just raw damage coming from Sibs. He has to put it onto all of the crowd control. So Sibs has the potential to really turn some of these team fights if their focus onto Hammy is misplaced. If Sibs is able to get off enough additional crowd control, Hammy drops people to half before he dies, Sibs could easily be the one cleaning up the team fights.
15 minutes. The gong has been struck. The Kraken is awakened. Now with Rogue looking to enter this lane and Evo only just picking up the Echo. This could be a go time for Rogue. They certainly want to try and fight Hammers, but right now just content with just satisfied at least with just getting a little bit of poke off. Now that's exactly what they need to do.
And Hammers, I assume they know that the Echo is there now, but there was kind of this window where they may not have known the Echo was there, nor would they have checked the items for the side of Rogue, and this could be the engagement.
Ordained comes out. There's the attack of the pack as well. They're actually just going to disengage with the War Treads for the time being. Starting all over was rotating down from the lanes. That probably sparked that disengagement. No big cooldowns yet apart from those War Treads been used, however. Hollywood Hammers, they're hiding in this brush right now. Ordained comes out. They're going to find a stun straight on, starting all over. And now Hammy has to kite back Evo with a beautiful usage of the double gauntlet, leaving Hammy completely alone in the back line. But starting all over finds the jump on him with that Rose offensive. But now it's all up to Sibs, who ends up getting cut up as well. Hammers, they are starting these fights and they are finishing them with Evil going down as well. Hammers find the ace, the triple kill in fact for starting all over, and that Kraken is going to be there as well for them.
It was a good bit of opening and repositioning by Hammy, but starting all over found him. He had 17 stacks when that fight was over, which means he was sitting at about 15 plus throughout the fight. I didn't manage to check it in real time, and so he's doing massive damage. Hammy can't really survive that. You know, it is weapon power Kestrel. You're pretty much a glass cannon. You pick up the Aegis primarily for the reflex lock, and you know, you get a little bit of armor, you know, some shielding off of that, but really your job is to dish out damage and try and survive. And they put a lot of pressure onto Hammy, forcing him to have to active camo into kind of an awkward position. It looked like he was going to be safe, but this is a Black Feather. He can reflex block through that double gauntlet and get himself, you know, out of the middle of that cage and onto the primary target. And he was able to do that in the middle of that fight.
Rogue now. They are on the back foot, it seems, the first time in this series. Bonesaw and Infusion for Hammy now, so he is fully online. All items have been completed apart from upgrading that reflex block to an Aegis a little later on. Now Kraken is still marching down though, bearing on their base. They're going to have to deal with it rather sharpish. Remember, they have got a lot of damage with Sibs and Habby combined. They just have to fend off Hammers for the time being. They're doing a good job of it thus far. Setting up an active camo trap just in case the turret dive does initiate. However, that turret will end up breaking as well. And here comes the attack of the pack just to make sure Rogue get out of there. In fact, they all run away, in fact, because that fearsome shade did hit all members of Hammers. And does leave Rogue not bleeding any casualties, but they do end up losing the base turret.
Yeah, not massive value for the side of Hollywood Hammers, but they are at least putting the pressure onto the side of Rogue. They're doing a good job of keeping up a good pace and not really allowing Rogue to set up onto their side of the map and any kind of siege going, because there's very significant poke for the side of Rogue between Sibs and Hammy. Sibs is starting to build in some of those defenses, has decided he doesn't need that much shielding. Looks like he's going to be building the Crucible for his side. And this is actually something we've been seeing. Setting the Crucible onto another member allows for some of these captains to pick up that Echo much sooner.
I mean, makes a lot of sense in that regard. That way you can be there to protect yourself and your carries rather than having Evo, having all the buttons in the world, trying to click Fountain, trying to click Aegis, you're trying to click literally everything, including the Echo plus your Gauntlet. Just get a little bit more of a weight off of his mind as well, I can imagine. And with that, I mean, Sibs is going to have to, I can imagine, probably subvert a lot of the damage from status. That's probably what he's going to be aiming for there. One shot, one kill will come through. No wave gauntlet, by the way, finished from Evo here. So deleting some of those items. As an Echo has been finished from Chicken, by the way.
Yeah, I actually like this adaptation. If you put the gauntlet onto another member of the team, one, your captain doesn't have to play, in this case it'd be Keanu Arden, where he's not, you know, hitting a million buttons to be able to make the play happen. But it opens up for this adaptation of, he's got Echo and No Wave Gauntlet. Echo has become very common, but No Wave Gauntlet seems very, you know, it's very situational. It doesn't seem like a lot of people pick that up. Now you consider, okay, I have a No Wave Gauntlet. I'm going to shut down Chicken, which means no double attack of the pack, which means no War Treads coming out from him. His Crucible doesn't get any value. Sibs starts to, you know, get more crowd control in. There's a lot of possibilities when you kind of deviate some of these item pickups onto other members of the team. And right now, Sibs feels confident enough that the Alpha isn't doing enough damage to him that he can survive without picking up any shield.
Does give him a little bit of extra defenses. Gives him a bit of extra health, which is always the primary defensive tool. Oh, hang on a second. Attack of the Pack gets opened up. That's going to get feared away by that fearsome shade. War Treads as well from Rogue, just to get out of that situation. Echo use on the Attack of the Pack even. So double set of wolves running after Rogue right now. Does leave Hammers with a little opening to start this Kraken up. However, Rogue are in hot pursuit. And in fact, Hammers, they're going to stop that for the moment and just decide to back off.
Yeah, and the No Live Gauntlet was used there, so I assume that was thrown onto Chicken and stopped him from being able to instantly double attack the pack or pop the War Tread so they could continue in the chase. Now we see Rogue starting this up. They could do it very quickly if the side of Hammers isn't aware. They are moving into this middle area, and we could easily see a steal here. This is dangerous.
Look at those bad mojos, though. They are hurting the Kraken. Ordain comes out and starting all over. Does get stunned up. There's the Prime Directive onto 3 people, not doing too much damage, and the dog is already feared away. The Gauntlet does come down there. Termination Protocol is going to get unleashed, and Hammy's already dead, and now it's all up to Sibs. Another huge Gauntlet will separate the rest of the team, but Sibs is already going really low. Another Prime Directive on the back line, and that'll be a nice core charge to finish off the kill. Hollywood Hammers, I think they might have done it. An ace in 21 minutes, and they're just going to walk down the pace.
So much damage comes out from starting all over. He has had a great game, and just these endless Black Feather picks. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't, but it's just such a risk. And so much pressure gets put onto Hammy, despite him being able to active camo, being able to juke away and stay alive for a while. Status is in the middle of the team. The Termination Protocol is there, and Hammers will take this to a game 3. They are not out of it yet. They tell Rogue that they will not go quietly into the night.
The whole day has been going to game number 3s. In North America, they've started to wake up. And right now is Rogue and Hammers battling for that trophy this weekend. This has been such a series. We've had the shortest game ever, it feels like, into a game that was so back and forwards. This next one is truly going to be a showing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where the draft is evolving. Maybe they go back to that Churn Walker. I don't think we see